My name is Yasmin Smith and my artwork is titled Flooded Rose Red Basin and it's in the APT 10. I work within ceramics and I make ceramic glazes and forms from the remnants of plants. The reason I look at plants is because they've been living on this particular place and they've been deriving things from the soil, these essential nutrients or sometimes toxins from the ground. So the plant is like a record keeper of what's happening within the soil. I would go to a place and I would collect plant vegetation and I would make plaster molds from the plants and then burn the original plant material to ash and collect the ash to make a ceramic glaze. I also get the ash tested at a laboratory that gives me an empirical analysis of all of these elements. Then I would go back to the plaster mold and make a ceramic slip cast replica of the original plant specimen. When you burn a plant, you burn away all of the organic matter. And what's left in the ash is all of the inorganic elements like silica, calcium, iron, the elements that you might find on the periodic table. And in ceramic glazes, around about 60 of those elements have an effect on the aesthetics, so the colour or the texture or the sheen of the ceramic glaze. Therefore, the ceramic glaze that's presented on the outside of these works are actually a chemical transposition of the plant's life. And that tells an historical story, that deep time geology of the place, the soil, but it also has a relationship to the more modern human input into that landscape. In 2018, I was invited to do a residency in China. And I was working and living in a ceramics factory in the Sichuan province. I was interested in bamboo as a plant to use for my work. And that's because bamboo is known to accumulate silica. It has this ability to actually derive more silica than most plants from the soil. And I thought about silica and its relationship to ceramic glazes. A lot of silica would make a really glassy glaze because silica and glass have a relationship. But this isn't always the case. And in the case of the bamboo that you see in Flooded Rose Red Basin, it's actually an overload of silica that causes the glaze not to melt, and instead you're left with almost like a sandpapery texture where you can see the unmelted particles of the plant's silica and other elements that existed in it. While I was in China, I noticed that there was huge amounts of plantations of eucalypt trees. They planted these eucalyptus around their green tea plantations. They didn't know at the time, but the eucalyptus actually had a detrimental effect on the Sichuan green tea plantation because it was taking too much water out of the soil. So I was interested in the presence of these plants, why they were there and how they were affecting local industry and the ecology of the green tea plantation. The farmer that I had befriended gave me specimens of eucalypt that you see in the exhibition. Then I went down to a local mill and the person that owned the mill gave me the ash of the wood from their cooking fire. And so I took that ash to make the glaze of the flooded gum eucalyptus tree. And that glaze is really high in iron and it has a kind of a green, melty, glassy effect. And so that iron is showing through as it mixes with other elements in the glaze as a green colour. When you're viewing the work, try to get up close and have a really good look at the glazes because you'll notice these sort of aesthetic differences. When you see the bamboo glaze, you'll see little white flecks, and that's the suspended silica. If you have a look closely at the flooded gum glaze, there's also these black speckles, and that's the agglomeration of iron that hasn't melted and is pulled through the glaze and leaves these really beautiful bleeds throughout the glaze. Flooded Red Rose Basin is one project in a series of investigations and research that I've been doing since 2014. And within those projects exists probably 20 to 25 different glazes. And each glaze is unique depending on the plants that they are derived from and the geology that those plants lived in and the human activities that existed in that place. And so the archive becomes something that can be a language in itself, a language that we can read through aesthetics that is provided up to us through something that's not human-centric, through trees that have lived on this earth.